My colleague framed me for something I didn't do. Now I have to prove my innocence. The office has always been somewhere where good work was rewarded and loyalty and dedication were acknowledged. However, I became wiser after this occurrence as I realized how naive I had been. It just takes one person, one spiteful, envious coworker, to completely turn your world upside down. Maya was that person for me. It all started like any other day when everything came crushing on me. I entered the office carrying my coffee cup in hand and mentally planning what my schedule looked like today. As the head of the marketing department, there were many things that required my attention, but I enjoyed working under pressure. All along these years, I dedicated myself into making this company succeed, and it did quite well for me. My boss, Mr. Peterson, trusted me with important projects which were always high-levels happenings, thus earning a name of reliability, efficiency, and creativity. However, none of that mattered once I saw the email that would change everything. While responding to some customer emails at my desk, an email message from another staff member suddenly appeared in my inbox with the subject line saying urgent, fraud investigation being conducted. My pulse skipped a beat as I pressed the email. It was from Mr. Peterson, and its tone was cold and formal, unlike his usual friendly attitude. He wrote briefly, "Lila, I need to see you in my office immediately. It has come to my attention that very serious accusations have been made against you. We shall discuss this alone." My stomach leapfrogged. Fraud? Accusations? It all seemed so senseless to me. I had never done anything even remotely unethical ever in my life, and could not comprehend why Mr. Peterson would write such an email at all. My hand shook as I read through the message one more time, trying to assimilate whatever it was he meant. I took a deep breath and began walking towards his office, attempting to suppress my anxiety somewhat. However, once I stepped across the threshold of the door and saw his face, I knew something was seriously wrong. "Sit down, Lila." He spoke tensely. I sat down, feeling as though my chest would explode with each heartbeat. "What is happening?" I asked, forcing out any quiver in my voice. Mr. Peterson sighed, rubbing his temples before sliding a folder across the desk toward me. I didn't want to believe it at first, but the evidence is compelling. My eyes scanned through the papers in front of me as I opened up the folder. My blood ran cold as I saw before me emails, financial records, and spreadsheets, all pointing to one thing. They were accusing me of embezzling millions from one of our biggest clients. This is not right," I stuttered, barely raising my voice. I don't know what it is." Mr. Peterson reclined in his seat, his face void of emotion. "The evidence says otherwise, Lila. These emails were sent from your job, and your transfers took place when you logged into the system." In disbelief, I looked at documents spread on my table. Unknown persons framed me, but why and who? "There's no way this can be true," I shouted, raising my voice again. "I have been with this company for years. It never even occurred to me that I would do something like this." Mr. Peterson lowered his voice, saying, "I want to believe you, but we must investigate as a company. Unable to uncover the truth about it right away, therefore effective immediately, I'll be suspending you until further notice." His words landed on me like a sledgehammer hitting my stomach. "You cannot suspend me. It's not up to me," he responded, definitely cutting me off mid-sentence. "This is serious, Lila," he said, firmly stopping her from going on, then walked away while talking. "Until we find out what really happened here, remain clear of any company possession, and we will lock your system account." Shocked, I sat there trying to comprehend what was happening to me. I didn't even know why, but my career that I had worked for was slipping away from me right in front of me. My voice barely a whisper, I asked, "Who accused me? Who did this?" "Oh," he said after a moment. Maya pointed out several irregularities in the company's books. Maya. It came like a slap in the face. Maya was one of my colleagues, and we had worked together for several years. We got along all right, but there was always something between us. She was very ambitious and always keen to go up the ladder. Moreover, there were rumors that she wanted my position. However, framing me for an offense I did not commit was never expected from her at any time. "Maya," I repeated, my voice filled with disbelief. "Why would she accuse me of something like this?" "Mr. Peterson sighed, looking uncomfortable. "I don't know, but the fact remains that the evidence points to you. We'll have to investigate thoroughly, and until then, you're on suspension." I wanted to scream at him, beg him to listen to me, but I knew it was futile because the deed was done. If you are not following our channel, never again will you ever see it. But if you are subscribed, congratulations. You will always have incredible stories whenever you feel like watching or listening. Walking out of Mr. Peterson's office in a state of shock, my head spun as I tried to comprehend what just happened. Maya, a person whom I once thought I could trust or at least work with peacefully, stabbed me in the back. Not just any back, but one which could potentially destroy my career prospects, reputation, and even future life altogether. The accusation of embezzlement was so serious that I couldn't understand how anybody could believe it, let alone construct evidence against me, as Maya had managed to do so very well in her case against me using that charge. I was gathering up my things from the desk as security watched, something I never expected to do in my life. When getting out of the office, I looked around to see if any of my colleagues was aware. Did they whisper behind me? Has Maya already started to turn anyone against me? While packing my stuff, I could feel their eyes on me, but I could not afford to look back. My mind was spinning with questions. Why would she do this? How did she manage planting all these false evidences? And most importantly, how will I prove that I am innocent? That night at home, I sat down and stared into space at the files given by Mr. Peterson. The papers were very incriminating. There were emails that purportedly came from my address authorizing huge sums of money being transferred into personal accounts, bank account details that somehow linked me to stolen funds, and time stamped on them which clearly showed it was all my fault. But it wasn't me. The worst thing about it is that it looks realistic. A person took the time to forge everything, including minor aspects of it. Whoever did this knew exactly what she was doing. There it is, and Maya was the person who discovered all. I knew I could not simply stay put as the investigation unfolded. This had potential to wreck my whole life if I didn't react fast. I had to know how she had framed me and why. I reached out for my phone and called a colleague from work that is very dear to me. Clara's number was on speed dial. Because we have been close friends for so many years, maybe she can make sense of this mess for me. Please God, let her not be misled by Maya's fabrications just yet. Clara? Lila? Clara answered after a few rings with concern in her voice. What is going on? I hear that something happened at the office, but no one will give me a clear explanation. I couldn't help my throat from clenching as I tried to explain. Maya framed me, Clara. She's accusing me of stealing money from the company and somehow planted evidence that makes it look like I did it. There was a moment of silence on the other end before Clara finally spoke. Huh? Maya? Are you sure? I am certain, I replied, my voice trembling with rage. She is the one who told Mr. Peterson about it, and now all the proof points in my direction. But it's not true. You know how unlikely this sounds about me. I know you wouldn't, Clara said gently. But why would she do this? What does she have to gain? That had been the question bothering me all night long. I don't know. However, she has always wanted my job position. Maybe this is her way of getting rid of me. I won't put anything past her, Clara muttered under her breath. Since day one, she has been gunning for a promotion, but this? Framing you? That's just too much. Sighing deeply, I leaned back against the couch. I must find evidence that she is the one. Something that shows it was all her idea. Clara would pause for a while before speaking again with some determination in her voice. Well, there's a way out of this. I will listen to conversations in the office and try to know what Maya is doing or if she is making mistakes intentionally. In addition to that, you should find out how she managed to use your account at work. Maybe some IT guy can help. It wasn't much, but it was something. Beginnings works for me. Thanks, Clara. I do not know what I would do without you. She assured me. We shall pass through this. Just keep strong. Following Clara's suggestion on the next day, I called Brian, one of the IT guys at work today, because I knew he could look at login history and determine how Maya, or whoever hacked into my account, did it. I called him pretending that there was something I wanted to confirm with regard to a project that I have been working on without raising any suspicion about the real reason for my inquiry. Luckily, Brian was nice enough, and he agreed to help me without asking too many questions. I asked him, can you tell me whether someone else got into my account from a different place or device? Keeping my voice steady while we talked on phone, just to be certain that everything is secure. It appears as though your account was accessed from another IP address last week. However, the login was made using your credentials. Are you telling me that it wasn't you who did this? No, it wasn't me at all. Can you identify where the login came from? Wait a minute, Brian said before his tone grew more serious. Let me investigate further. He continued typing for a long time without saying anything. After some time, he spoke again with his voice lower than before. Lila, the login seems to have come from inside the building, but the IP is associated with another device, not your workstation. My heart raced in my chest. I had finally found it out. Someone had used my account within the office, but not at my desk. Thus, I was not responsible for these unauthorized transactions. What computer do you think it came from? I asked, trying to hide the fact that my heart was beating too fast. Brian paused for a moment. I am not supposed to share this information with anyone except through official channels. Please, Brian, I whimpered. If it wasn't important, I would not have asked. After another pause, he gave in. All right, it appears like the login came from Maya's workstation. It was as if the ground had moved beneath me. Maya had been using her PC to log into my account all along. She had always accessed my account, and now I had evidence. But there was still more work to be done. Having this information meant that I needed a plan on how to use it. My job was now exposing her without alerting her or letting her cover up. However, Maya set a trap, and today is the day when it will snap back at her. That evening, Clara and I met up to discuss my next steps. We were in a quiet cafe. We hunched over cups of coffee as I ran through what I had found out with her. I showed her Brian's login records and told her about some other evidence I was gathering. This is massive, said Clara wide-eyed. If you take this to Mr. Peterson, Maya will be finished. I know, I replied, but still reluctant to do so at the back of my mind. But what if it backfires? She has been cunning all along, Clara. She's made sure that everything points at me. That's why we need more, declared Clara firmly. We have to catch her red-handed doing something irrefutable that will unveil who she really is. I nodded, feeling a flicker of determination within me. All this while, Maya had been playing dirty, but now it was my turn. It wasn't just about clearing my name. It was about ensuring she never did this to anyone else again. For the next few days, I stayed on edge with every breath, waiting for that perfect opportunity to come. Everything was set up as planned. Now, it was just a matter of time before Maya fell right into my trap. In my inbox sat an email I had fabricated, suggesting there were evidences against her and she needed to know it eventually. Now all I had to do was wait until such time when she would finally grab the bait. Brian, the IT guy, also set a read-time alert on my account that could notify me anytime Maya uses my login details again. But then again, I didn't want to hurry things too much. So far Maya had been pretty cautious and therefore I also had to be even more finicky than usual. At this point in time, she must implicate herself somehow or another and allow me catch her red-handed. 2 days later, after setting up the trap, there was a message meant for me at last. Brian, she just logged into your account again. I could feel my heart pounding. At last, I had it. Maya was in my account, just going through it and probably having a panic attack after reading the false email about the evidence that I did not have on her. She must be trying to delete anything pointing back to her so she can think she can still get away with this. However, Maya didn't know that Brian had been monitoring her actions. He had access to all login records, and we possessed time logs which showed that she was the one who logged into my account and not me. This wasn't mere speculation anymore. I had hard evidence. I instantly texted Clara. Me. She took the bait. It's happening. Almost immediately Clara replied, Clara, I'll be ready. Let's end this. That afternoon I headed back to the office, attempting to settle down the adrenaline rush sweeping over me. I had already sent an urgent mail to Mr. Peterson requesting for a private appointment on new developments concerning the case. He doubted me, but once he saw what was presented, there would be no denying what happened. Maya was already there when I walked into the office, sitting at her desk, smugly smiling as usual. She had no idea that her world was about to be destroyed. I smiled politely, pretending that nothing was wrong, as if I didn't just catch her in the act. Inside, I felt a mix of nervousness and anger, but I stayed calm. I needed to handle this correctly. Hi, Lila, Maya said, casually looking up from her computer. I hear you are still suspended. That sucks. I forced a smile. Yeah, it's been tough, but hopefully everything will get sorted out soon. She nodded with that irritating pretend sympathy in her voice. It'll all be over soon, though. Hang on. But she had no clue how tightened the news she is in. Later that afternoon, Mr. Peterson called me into his office and Clara and Brian were waiting outside ready with their bulging folders full of evidence for support me on this one. Taking a deep breath, I stepped inside knowing this was my opportunity to put things right once and for all. When I walked into Mr. Peterson's office, he looked up from his table, his face stern. Lila, you said you had some new information? I nodded and took a seat opposite him. Yeah, and it's something that you'd like to hear. First of all, I began by confiding in him about my doubts regarding Maya's involvement. She was the one who alerted me initially about the called inconsistencies with my account before later planting the false evidence to show that I was guilty of them. Mr. Peterson seated back, pinching his forehead, listening attentively as I talked. Next were the login records that Brian gave me which proved there was another computer accessing my account, namely Maya's PC. In addition to this, I showed him the timestamps which matched perfectly with those of the fraudulent activities. Take this, my guy, I told him, providing the evidence. Maya has been signing into her computer with my account details, and she is the one behind all this. Mr. Peterson looked through the papers, and his expression got more intense as he went further down. This is going to get us into deep trouble, were his murmurings. He said something he shouldn't have. However, I had not yet finished. I have a tape, I added in an even voice. Clara asked Maya about the rumors, and although she didn't admit guilt outright, she did say that she'd been trying to spy on me by snooping around my account. Also, she hinted at having help for it. So manipulative of her, isn't it? Well, now we've got her confessing. After pressing play, Mr. Peterson went white when Maya's voice came back nervousness while attempting to avoid Clara's questions. It was not a full confession, but enough to demonstrate that she was involved. There was a pause which Mr. Peterson broke with a heavy sigh as the recording ceased to play. Even worse than I thought, he complained. She set me up, I muttered. I could never be a thief in this organization. For years, I have worked so hard to build my name here, and Maya wanted to ruin it just for her own interests. Mr. Peterson nodded, looking grim. I see that now. I'll have to talk to HR, but know this, Maya will not get off scot-free. Things started to fall apart soon after. Earlier this week, Mr. Peterson and HR called Maya into a meeting. It was only a matter of time before the ashen look on her face told the whole story. Her self-confidence had soured, and the facts were too damning to hide from. She had been caught in the act, and there was no way to create a narrative that would work in her favor at this point. A handful of days later, she got the boot. It didn't take long for the rumors to circulate in the office. Everything that Maya tried to do to me, the people wrangling, the document fabrication, it was all too much. My previously doubtful coworkers shifted their gaze from worry to sympathy and respect, and I sensed my burdensome shackles of defamation slowly fading away. From the moment Mr. Peterson chose to reinstate me, I sat by my desk wishing for the moment that I can breathe again. The day had finally come. My conflict was over, and my status had been honored. I was no longer in the battle to showcase that I was innocent. I had fought to save my profession, my self-worth, and my position in the organization I had so tirelessly helped to build. Clara, we did it. I heard her muttering cheerfully while walking past my desk. Her undying assistance throughout this period made my heart swell as I turned to her. Of course we did. This was not just a revision for me. It was a shift to appreciate how rapidly trust can be breached and the detrimental susceptibility of ambition when it is masked in avarice. For the most part, I like to think that Maya has had her fair share of such encounters, and while I do not enjoy her downfall, I do believe it is my form of pleasure because someone had to pay the price for her evil ways. What was worse was not the fact that I proved to everyone of my innocence. What was worse was being brave when it mattered the most. Indeed, nothing beats the sensation of victory like this.